So in the last tutorial, we were modifying this particular corner of the car, and I think I did a pretty good job. It's still not ideal, something that I'll have to work on, you know, in my own time, only because, again, I don't want to bore you guys with this moving vertices one at a time. So we're going to move right on to the next step, which is creating this shape for the car. So I'm simply going to grab a few of these vertices and start to create that shape. Now this section, you will have to add probably 2 more edge loops going up and down here, and I just want to make sure that our geometry is following that shape. Okay, and then let's see here. That looks good, right about there. Now I'm going to select all of these vertices, hold W, go to World Tool, and then I'll add 2 more edge loops, and it's going equal distance from the edge. Close that. I'll add 1, 2, and maybe a third one. I think that should be fine right there. Okay, so let's begin to move these vertices around. If I hold W, go to Component, just trying to get that shape. I'll click right here, and then I'll move this guy up. Let's move this guy down and to the left. And this guy, move this guy over to the right. And let's see, what else shall we do? Let's select that vertex, move it down. You know what, this edge actually looks really good. Let's do this. Move this guy up. And I'm thinking that we should add 1 more edge loop right in here. And let's do that. So click on the geometry, click on my recently used tool, and I'll do that. Take that vertex, and actually, you know what, I'll take this vertex. You're probably wondering, what am I talking about? So this vertex here is, actually this is where it starts to curve, and this one is right before the curve, so I think I'm pretty safe with doing that. And I'll take this one, move it up, move it to the right, and I'll move it down. I'll take these guys, move them up, and this one, move the guy there, this one here, and you know what? I think it was probably perfect where it was before. So right along that green line. Yeah, my bad. Let's do this. And take these guys and move them down. Okay. So now we're simply going to work on the other side. I'll take that vertex, move it over. That one looks good. And I'm going to add one more edge loop in here. So let's do this. And take this vertex, move him down, move it to the right, and take this one, try to align it, create this nice curve, and just kind of moving some vertices around so that this area, the edges flow a little bit nicer. And so now that I have this shape, I'll click on this edge, double click here, and let's try to edit the edge flow. I'll take that vertex and then move it back here. And let's see what that looks like in our perspective. Okay, cool. So you can see the line that I just created that's going to be for the tail lamps. I'm going to select all of these faces here. And come over to this section. And then it's like 1, 2, 3, all these guys, and then press delete. Alright, so now that I have that cut out, oops, -1, I'm going to, alright, so I know that this edge is going to be extremely sharp, and if I press 3 on this, we really don't have to worry about keeping this like 90-degree angle, because if you look at a few of these images, let's say this particular image plane, okay, well, that's not the truth. It is around here, and then right on that shape you have a very, very sharp angle. So I want to establish that first before we do anything further. So if I press 3, that's the shape that we have. We can add an insert edge loop tool right here and then one right there. And when we press 3, we get that 90-degree angle. So that was actually an easy fix. I want to move this over a little bit more, and then move this guy up just a little bit. Okay, and I think that's the only area. We have a triangle. No, we don't. That's not a triangle. It looks like a triangle, but it's separated by a vertex, which makes it a quad. And kind of curve that up a little bit. Let's get some. Let's do that. Do that. And that. Let me see. Look at this section of our ride, and I'll do this. Take that vertex, move it over. And okay, I think that's looking really, really nice. Same thing with this edge, since it is a 90-degree angle. And just kind of hold V to snap this over. So it doesn't want to snap. I'm trying to get these vertices to be perfectly aligned. If I hold W and go to world, and then I can press R, scale it flat. Okay, so same thing I did on the other side. Insert edge loop tool on this guy. Put one right there, and then one right here. And since I have another edge on this corner, will allow me to make a nicer curve. So let's go to edit edge flow, and then press G to edit that edge flow. And let's try this one again. Alright, much better. So I press 3, and we are almost finished with this section. Okay. So I'll just use the existing geometry to create this shape. So let's double click on this edge. I'll press 1, and I'll press Control E to extrude. I'll move this arrow inward, and I'll stop when I get to the border of that shape. Okay. Now when the vertices are very close, and let me just turn the X-ray off. When the vertices are very close together on corners like that, you'll have to go in there manually and move them. Now I'm using the world tool. No, actually, this is what tool is that? That is my component mode. Press 4. I know there's one hiding in there. Press 5. Move this guy back out. And I know it looks like a mess right now, but we're going to use the world tool. So I'll hold V, snap it down, match it there. Select this tool, hold V, snap it up. Select that corner, hold V, snap it down. And in our perspective, I'll hold V and drag it to the right so it aligns with that vertex. Select that one, hold F to frame in. Hold V, snap it to the left, and it's almost there. Hold V, snap this guy to the left. Okay. That looks fine with me. And let's go back to our perspective. Okay, I think we have that other corner that we need to work on. Before I do that, it does look a little bit off right here. I think that's the vertex that's messing with me. Let's move it over. Here we go. These little details. Go back to component, and let's move this up. Okay, let's go to the other side, and I'm actually going to change this to world. I'll slide this guy over to the left. I'll select this one and press F. Since it's not like perfect 90-degree angle right now, we're just going to move it up in the component. In that component mode, I'll move it like this. I'll get it to align with this line. I'm just eyeballing it. And that looks good. And then I'll change this to world. Hold V, slide it over, snap it up. I'll click on this guy and move him right to the corner. And see what it looks like in the perspective. Of course, we just have to make a little modification, move it over like that. Take this guy, move him over. Okay, so I'm going to take this whole edge, all of these guys here, and on this side, including those two. I'm going to press R, hold J, snap them flat, press W, and try to get their alignment to look nicer. Object mode. Okay. If I click on mesh display, harden edge, and then mesh display, soften edge, sometimes it changes it up. Okay, now press 3. That's what we have. And I'm actually going to select I'm going to add a few more edge loops in here. Maybe 2 more. So let's go to multiple edge loops, change that to 2. To make it 3. And the same thing with this one. And then I'll look at it from the back view. Select these vertices here. I'm going to press 3. I want it to align it right there. Press the right arrow to allow you to do that. And these last 2 can go up, and maybe that last one. Okay, and probably should add another edge loop along this part of the car, and then select those vertices, move them up, and move these guys up a little bit. So now when we press 3, it's nice and flush, and then we can continue to work on the tail lamps. Now, I don't want to assume that I know what they look like just yet, but looking at this geometry here, they do curve inward like that. So what I'll do is take these faces here and let's see, what shall we do? That is the chrome part. Let's just go to edit mesh, duplicate. I'll take that chrome mesh, going to modify center pivot, press W. I'll move this forward for now, and then these faces, I want to move them back. Let me extrude and move them back like this. And I'll take that face, delete. So now it kind of is an indentation there. And let's maybe move it back a little bit further. Like that. Okay. I think that looks fine. Now, the moment I press 3, this edge gets a little bit soft, gets softer. We can click on this edge, hold shift, press 1, I'll hold shift to double click on this edge, and we can use what we call the Crease Tool. So I'll press 3 one more time. I'll go to edit mesh and mesh tools, and then click on the word crease. If I hold the middle mouse button and drag it to the right, I get a nice crease there. However, it's doing something really funky on that edge, so I'll undo. I'll press 1 and I'll go back a few steps, and it looks like my undo has been not enabled. Undo is on. It should be on infinite. Okay. So I'll step back a few steps. I'll hold shift, press period. I'll delete that. I'll click on this edge loop. I'll extrude it one time. I'll bring it up like this. I'll go to the back view and change that little vertex here. Go back to component mode. And then one last vertex to move. Move it like this. Move it straight up. So now I just created a custom like edge loop. And then I can extrude it again. Press W. Change this to my world. Move it over just a smidgen. That will be my other edge loop. And then Control E. Press W and then move it back. So now, when we press 3, we have a smoother edge. And again, this area I'm going to fix because the vertices are looking a little out of whack. And maybe, just maybe, I can delete. Oh, I'll worry about it later. Okay, so that being said, let's go back to our back view. This is a shape that we created earlier, and if we move it back here, and let me see this image, it looks like it curves right in here. So I'll isolate it by pressing Control 1. I'll select these 3 vertices. I'll push them back like that. I'll take that vertex, move it back, and create that curve shape that we see in the reference image. And I think that's what it looks like. And now we'll press Control E, press W, move it forward. I'll move it forward once, hold Shift, move it forward twice, and then I'll look at the back of this geometry, click that face, hold Shift, double click that one, press Delete. And now when we press 3 on this guy, just press Control 1. This is the shape that we have. Now we have this shape we want it to be. I want this geometry to follow that same kind of curve. I can see that it looks the same way in this image here. So what we're going to do is simply select these faces here. If I press B, change my tool to soft selection, hold B, left mouse click and drag. You zoom out a little bit. There we go. And I'll change the soft selection until it's a little bit lower. Right about there. And I'm going to move this guy to the right. And that vertex point, like right in there, and this one is pretty much aligned with this shape. So now I'll just hold Control to deselect that part and that part, and I'll take these guys and move them right about there. That looks good. Okay, so it's coming along real nice. Okay. All right, next thing that we need to do is take this geometry here. One more area of a concern. And I could see it right in this section, how it curves. So I'll take that, let me press 1, turn off my soft selection. I'll hold Shift and double click there. Actually, let's go here, this edge, hold Shift, double click that edge, and then I will right mouse click on this guy, go to Edge, hold Shift, double click there, press 1, and I'm going to slide everything over to the right. So if I press B, I'll hold, let's turn off soft selection, and I'll move everything over to the left so it curves in. Let's try a little bit more, right about there. Okay, that looks pretty good. I just want to take a few of, I guess I'll just take this geometry and kind of modify it a little bit. And we'll slide over to the right. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now we'll go ahead and start working on the tail lamp. Okay. I'll just duplicate this. I'll move it straight up, like that. And we even modify a few of those vertices. Kind of get that same shape. Press 5 and then 1 so I can see it in my perspective. And press 1 here. Now, I think I want to get a harder edge. If I press 4, this curve is a little bit too soft, and I want that line to be a little bit straighter. So it's like those vertices here. If I right mouse click and hold on this guy, I can select those vertices. And no, better yet, let's just go to the offset edge loop tool. I'll click and drag and hold it to the right. Or if you don't like that tool, you can go to Mesh Tools, insert Edge Loop tool, and just put one right there, right here. And let's do the same thing here and there. Okay, so what this is going to do, it's going to allow us to have a sharper or harder edge. Okay, so now with this guy, I'm simply going to go to Vertex, select these guys, slide them over, select this whole row, slide it over, and I'm wondering if I need to bring this section down a little bit more. So I'll press 4, highlight these guys, and I'll press 1. Now what I don't want to do is overlap the vertices here. So hold Shift and bring it down a little bit more. And better yet, let's see here. Let's go back in object mode and move this back. Okay. I don't know how far back this is supposed to go, but let's see a few images of that shape. Okay. What I am going to do is bridge these two geometries together. And if if I can find my geometry. Alright, so I'll select this guy, hold shift to select this one. I'll press Control 1 to isolate it. Now I have these vertices selected for whatever reason, so if I go to vertex mode, highlight those vertices and go to object mode, they're deselected. And I'm going to get rid of a few vertices on this guy. So let's select that one, hold shift, actually select this guy, hold shift, double click, delete it. Let's see, press 1. And see what happens when I press 3 on this again. Not too bad. Face. I'll select this face, hold shift, double click, delete that. And I think when we were moving this thing straight down, it kind of had a negative effect on the faces. So I'm just going to go in here and correct a few things. What I can do is simply hold shift, double click, and select that one. I'll hold shift, actually, and I'll control delete, or command delete, which is going to make this edge a little bit straighter. So it's a little goof by me, and I need that curve. Alright, so let's go ahead and select this inner edge loop here. I'll hold shift, drag it back, and I'm going to hold D and V and then snap it right there. I'll turn my wireframe on shaded, and I'm going to hold V and snap it right there. Okay, so now I'll have to scale it down like this, scale it like this, and actually it should go up here, and then I'll press R to scale it down. I'll scale it a little bit wider. And what I think would be 100 times easier than doing this is simply to recreate this shape, only because I kind of messed it up in the beginning. I'll take this guy and Control D, press R to scale it down. And I'll move it back like this. And let's see. What I can't, and I want to look at it again in my perspective. It's so much smaller that shape. So if I were to select the vertices and move them down, like for a second time, it's going to look a little bit different than what I had before, previously. So if I press W, hold W, and go to Object. So I'm just repeating that same process only because I need a bridge. And press 4. And let's see. Move it back a little bit. Okay. I think this should be fine. Control 1. Alright. So I'm going to combine these two pieces. Mesh, combine. And I'm going to take this inside edge loop here. Hold Shift, double click this guy. And then I'll go to Edit Mesh, Bridge, and it doesn't want to bridge. Okay. I guess I'll kind of go back to what I was doing before. DV, snap this guy here, snap it there, and then if you wanted to, and since I didn't bridge before, I'm going to separate them. It's like these vertices, and just kind of place them where they belong. So you can fast forward this part if you want to. I'm just holding V, and that's actually a little bit too high. I'll press F. Sorry about the camera jerking in and out. So I'll hold V and just snap it there. Hold V. Like this. And if you go into your shelf and click on this guy, that'll snap automatically, so you don't have to hold V the entire time. And I'll select that whole corner. I'll turn off the snapping for now. And kind of repeat this pattern. So again, if you think you got this, then by all means fast forward this section. I'm trying to go as fast as I can so that you aren't extremely bored by me moving vertices. And let's do that. I know this is like the only section that I didn't really pay that close attention to. And let's see here. Almost there. Now I will have to add an edge loop in here, because when I press 3, it's going to smooth everything out. And not to mention, I do have a few unwanted vertices on this particular shape. So let's get this guy here. Okay, so that is our shape. Press 3 on this guy, press 3 on this, and press Control 1. That's our tail lamp. Now if you think it's like too far back or not, you know, perfect, you can always combine these two. Mesh, combine, and then you could take the vertices, move them forward, move them down to try to get that shape. Right, so this is what we were aiming for. Move these guys over. And yeah, it's looking pretty good. The next step that I'll do is press 1. I'll simply select that edge loop here. Okay. And then go to Edit Mesh, or just Mesh, and then Fill Hole. Perfect. Alright. So that's looking pretty sweet. What else do we need to work on? I think we are almost finished. Let's see. Alright, so now we have that shape, and we just kind of selecting that vertex and align it with that. We need to work on the bumper. So I'll go ahead and stop this tutorial right now. I know it's we've covered a lot, but in the next tutorial we will go over the bumper, and once we have the bumper, then we'll work onto the front end of the car, and we are almost there, guys. So thanks for toughening it out with this part of the car. I know there's some areas that were a little challenging, and we will go from there.